But as tanks go, they were not the most impressive thing on tracks you've ever seen. Tiny little vehicles with a crew of two, the driver in the front, and there's one other chap in the turret who's got quite a lot of work to do. But these little tanks, during a counter-attack against the 7th Panzer Division, actually carved such a route through the Germans that the Germans got quite nervous and stopped their advance towards Dunkirk, and under Rommel's command had to turn back to deal with them. It wasn't that the tanks themselves were particularly powerful or well gunned, but they were quite thickly armoured and they were also quite reliable. They also come out quite small, so they're difficult to hit. The original Matilda, this model, was powered by a Ford V8 engine. The armament was a single machine gun, and as you can see, when it's being driven with the driver's hatch open, the machine gun is masked from firing forward, so obviously when they're going to action, that hatch would be shut. The tracks look woefully exposed. That actually doesn't matter. You'd really have to go over a mine or sustain that sort of damage to break them, and then it wouldn't really matter whether they were covered or not. It doesn't mean it chucks mud everywhere. But it's a tiny little vehicle, and I think the original plan was to build such large numbers of them that you would effectively swamp the battlefield. As it was, we changed our minds about halfway through, and having built a couple of hundred, stopped there, and they were never issued on any large scale, never used again after the fighting in France. I don't think even the Germans, who captured loads of them, could actually find anything terribly useful to do with them. But it's quite a sight to see something of that era going round now. The tank following it in the desert camouflage is a Valentine, and the Valentine is probably one of the most famous British tanks of the Second World War. They were used primarily in the Western Desert by British regiments. They were also built in quite large numbers in Canada. Canada set up a production line for Valentines. A lot of those went to the Russian army. The Russians rather liked the Valentine. They found it reliable with a reasonable gun. New Zealanders used them in the Pacific, and they had quite an interesting war. There are actually so many different versions of the Valentine with different sizes of guns and different turret crews. Some only had 2 men, some had 3. It's difficult to catalogue the lot in one talk, but what the Valentine had, in addition to a better gun than the little Matilda, was again reliability. It ran on a GMC diesel engine, and because it had this rather unusual suspension designed by a chap called Sir John Carden, it had an excellent cross-country performance. If you go into the vehicle park when the demonstration's over, you'll see another Valentine there, and that Valentine has got a canvas screen around it. It was a type known as the DD tank, or duplex drive. It was a swimming tank. That particular model, the Valentine, was used in Italy in that role. But it's a restored vehicle. Unfortunately, it's not in running order at the moment. We have brought it out